registration. Now, here you go.
What's the problem?
What's in that bag? Answer me.
Medical equipment. I just came from the hospital. I have a nerve condition.
Step out of the vehicle, right now.
I told you I have a mobility condition. I'm getting out. Just give me a second.
Officer Pruitt Bassett saw a young black man driving alone and decided that was enough reason to stop him. He dragged him out of his vehicle, mocked his disability, and treated his medical equipment like contraband. What he didn't know was that the woman on her way to that scene wore a robe that could end his entire future. Before we go further, what city or country are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. We love seeing where you're tuning in from. If you believe that a badge should never be used as a weapon against the vulnerable, then hit the like and subscribe button right now. This is Bodycam Revealed, and we don't let stories like this get buried. The evening of Thursday, October the 3rd started like any other for Terrence Omari. No drama, no conflict, just a 24-year-old man trying to get home after a long day at the hospital. Terrence had spent most of that afternoon at John Peter Smith Hospital on Main Street in Fort Worth, Texas, a place he had come to know well over the past 3 years. He wasn't there for anything urgent. It was a routine follow-up appointment, the kind that had become a regular part of his life since the accident that changed everything when he was 21. A car collision on I-30 had left him with a permanent nerve damage in his left leg. It didn't confine him to a wheelchair. It didn't stop him from working or driving or living, but it changed the way he moved through the world. His left leg dragged slightly when he walked. His steps were uneven and slow. On bad days, the pain made every movement look like effort, because it was. But Terrence didn't spend much time feeling sorry for himself. That wasn't who he was. He worked part-time as a junior data analyst for a logistics firm off Camp Bowie Boulevard, took online courses on weekday evenings, and managed his condition with the discipline of someone who had learned early that the world wasn't going to slow down for him. His medical bag sat on the back seat of his car. A worn black duffel that carried his prescription medications, a portable TENS unit his physiotherapist had recommended, and the printed paperwork from today's appointment. It was all organized, labeled, routine. To Terrence, that bag was just part of his life. To Officer Pruitt Bassett, it would become something else entirely. Terrence drove a 2019 dark blue Honda Accord, clean and well-kept. His disabled parking placard, issued by the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles, hung from his rearview mirror the way it always did. He had left JPS around 6:45 in the evening and taken his usual route home, heading north on Oakland Boulevard toward his apartment complex on Glenview Drive in the North Side neighborhood. It was a drive he had made dozens of times. Quiet streets, familiar turns, nothing unusual. He was on Refugio Street, less than 10 minutes from home, when he noticed the patrol car behind him. The lights came on before he had even processed why. Terrence checked his speed. He was doing 28 in a 30 zone. Both taillights were working. He had checked them 2 weeks ago after his last inspection. He hadn't run any lights. He hadn't made any sudden movements. He indicated, pulled over slowly to the right side of the road near the intersection with Nolan Street, put the car in park, and placed both hands on the steering wheel. He had done this before, not because he was guilty of anything, but because he had learned, the way many young black men in America quietly learn, that how you respond in the first 30 seconds matters more than anything else. The patrol car sat behind him for a full 2 minutes before the door opened. Officer Pruitt Bassett was a 12-year veteran of the Fort Worth Police Department, assigned to the North Side Patrol Division. He was 41 years old, broad-shouldered, with a sharp jaw and the kind of practiced authority that came from spending over a decade making decisions on the street. His record at the department wasn't clean. 2 years prior, a complaint had been filed against him by a 22-year-old resident during a stop on Azle Avenue. The resident had accused Bassett of conducting an unlawful search and using degrading language. The complaint had been reviewed internally and dismissed. Before that, in 2019, a colleague had submitted an informal report noting that Bassett had stopped the same individual on Roosevelt Avenue 3 times in a 6-week period, with no citation issued on any occasion. Nothing formal ever came from it. Bassett remained on the force, continued his patrols, and carried with him the quiet confidence of a man who had never truly been held accountable. He walked up to Terrence's window slowly, one hand resting near his belt. Terrence already had his window down. "License and registration," Bassett said. No greeting, no explanation for the stop. Terrence reached carefully into the glove compartment, pulled out his registration and insurance card, then retrieved his wallet from the center console. He handed everything over without a word, his movements slow and deliberate. Bassett looked at the documents. Then he looked at Terrence. Then he looked into the back seat. His eyes landed on the black medical duffel. "What's in the bag?" "Medical equipment," Terrence said. "I just came from a hospital appointment. That's my TENS unit and my medication. I have a nerve condition in my leg." Bassett didn't respond to that. He looked at the bag again, then back at Terrence. "Step out of the vehicle." Terrence paused. "Sir, I have a mobility condition. Getting out takes me a moment. I also want to let you know my disabled placard is on the mirror." I didn't ask about your placard. I said step out." Terrence nodded. He moved slowly, reaching for the door handle, swinging the door open, and then beginning the process of getting out. His left leg came out first, dropping heavily to the pavement. He gripped the door frame with both hands and pulled himself upright. The movement was visible, unmistakable. His left foot turned slightly inward as he stood, and he steadied himself against the car with one hand. Bassett watched him stand up. His expression didn't change. "You been drinking tonight?" he asked. Terrence looked at him. "No, sir, I told you. I have a nerve disability. This is how I walk." Bassett stepped closer. "You seem unsteady to me." "I have permanent nerve damage in my left leg from a car accident in 2021. I can show you my medical documentation if—" "I'm going to need you to stay right there," Bassett said, already moving toward the back door of the Accord. Terrence turned his head slowly. "Sir, do you have grounds to search my vehicle?" Bassett opened the rear door without answering. His hand went straight for the black medical duffel. Terrence stood at the side of his own car, one hand still resting on the roof for balance, watching a man in uniform unzip his medical bag on the street like it was a piece of evidence from a crime scene. The TENS unit came out first. Bassett turned it over in his hands, examined it, set it on the seat. The prescription bottles came next, 4 of them, all labeled, all with Terrence's name printed clearly on each one. Bassett lined them up. Then he pulled out the folded paperwork from JPS. "This is from my appointment today," Terrence said. "It has the hospital name, the date, and my doctor's signature on it." Bassett set it aside without reading it. Terrence felt something settle in his chest. Not panic, not anger. Something quieter than both of those. A stillness that comes when you realize that nothing you say is going to matter to the person in front of you. That the decision about who you are was made before you rolled down your window. He reached carefully back into the car, picked up his phone from the cup holder, and made a call. It rang twice. She picked up on the third. Terrence kept his voice low when she picked up. He didn't explain much. He just told her where he was. Refugio Street near the Nolan intersection. And that he needed her to come. Vivian Omari asked one question. He answered it in 3 words. She hung up. Bassett had heard the call. He stepped away from the back seat and turned toward Terrence with a look that had shifted slightly. Still hard, but now with something added to it. Irritation, maybe. Or the specific displeasure of a man who felt that making a phone call during his stop was a form of disrespect. "Who did you call?" he asked. "My mother," Terrence said. Bassett looked at him for a moment, then let out a short breath through his nose. "You called your mother." He said it the way someone says something they find almost funny but don't want to laugh at. Like the idea of a grown man calling his mother during a traffic stop was the most telling thing he had heard all evening. Terrence didn't respond to the tone. He stood with one hand still resting on the roof of the car, his left foot angled slightly inward against the pavement. And he waited. Bassett went back to the bag. He went through every compartment. He checked the small front pocket where Terrence kept spare charging cables and folded receipts. He pressed his hands along the sides of the duffel like he was feeling for something hidden in the lining. He picked up each prescription bottle a second time, reading the labels slowly, then setting them back down. He was thorough in the way that people are thorough when they are hoping to find something, not when they actually believe something is there. "These are all prescribed to you?" Bassett asked, holding up one of the bottles. "Yes, sir, all 4 of them. My name is on every label." "You got a lot of medication for someone coming from a routine visit." "I have a chronic condition," Terrence said. "I refilled 2 of those today. The pharmacist's sticker is on the side." Bassett set the bottle down. He didn't look at the sticker. He moved to the front of the car next, opening the passenger door and leaning in. He checked the glove compartment, even though Terrence had already opened it in front of him to retrieve his registration. He looked under the seat. He pulled the sun visor down on the passenger side and let it snap back up. Terrence watched all of this from outside the vehicle, standing in the cooling October air on a street that had gone quiet around them. A woman walking a dog on the other side of Refugio had slowed down. A man who had been sitting on his front porch 2 houses down was now standing. Bassett came back around to where Terrence was standing. "I'm going to be honest with you," he said, and the way he said it made clear he was not about to be honest in any meaningful sense. "The way you were driving, the amount of medication in that bag, the way you're standing right now. It all gives me reason to believe you may be impaired." Terrence looked at him. "I walk this way because of nerve damage. I have shown you my hospital paperwork. My prescriptions are labeled. I haven't had anything to drink and I am not impaired. You were unsteady getting out of the vehicle. I told you before I got out that I have a mobility condition. I told you it would take me a moment. You watched me get out of the car." "People say a lot of things during stops," Bassett said. There was a pause on the street. Not a dramatic one. Just the natural silence that falls when one person has run out of good faith responses and the other person doesn't care. Terrence had explained his condition 3 times now. He had offered documentation. He had shown Bassett the prescription bottles, the hospital paperwork, and the disabled placard that was still hanging from his rearview mirror, visible from where both of them were standing. None of it had moved Bassett even slightly. Not because he hadn't understood it, but because understanding it wasn't the point. "I'm going to need you to walk a straight line for me," Bassett said. Terrence stared at him. "You want me to walk a straight line?" "Standard field sobriety procedure." "I have a condition that affects my ability to walk normally. You have documentation of that condition sitting on the back seat of my car right now. You are asking me to perform a walking test." "I'm asking you to cooperate," Bassett said, and his voice had moved from flat to firm. "If you've got nothing to hide, this should be easy." Terrence did not move from where he was standing. He understood exactly what was happening. If he attempted to walk a straight line, his gait would confirm whatever Bassett had already decided. If he refused, it would become obstruction. The test wasn't designed to find the truth. It was designed to produce a result that had already been chosen. "I want to show you my medical records," Terrence said. "They are in the bag. My doctor's name, the hospital, the diagnosis, everything is in there." "I've already looked through the bag." "Then you saw the JPS letterhead. You saw the date. You saw Dr. Afalabi's signature." Bassett folded his arms. "What I saw was a lot of paperwork that anyone could carry around." Terrence went quiet. That was the moment. Not the search, not the field sobriety request, but that sentence. That made clear this was not going to resolve itself through facts or patience. Bassett wasn't confused about Terrence's condition. He wasn't being cautious. He had looked at the hospital letterhead, read the name, seen the date, and decided that none of it mattered. That a young black man on a quiet Fort Worth street at 7 in the evening, driving home from a hospital appointment with labeled prescriptions and a disabled placard, was still more suspicious to him than any document could correct. The woman with the dog had stopped walking entirely. She stood on the far pavement, watching. The man from the porch had come down to his front gate. A car that had turned onto Refugio from Nolan slowed as it passed, the driver's window coming down slightly before the car moved on. Bassett turned back toward the Accord. "I'm going to call this in," he said. "You're going to stay where you are." He walked back to his patrol car and got on his radio. Terrence stood beside his car in the October evening, alone on the street, his medical equipment spread out across his back seat, his paperwork sitting unread, his leg aching the way it always did when he had been standing too long on pavement without moving. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't argue with the people watching from across the street. He held his phone in his hand and looked down Refugio toward the intersection where the streetlight had just blinked on. He knew she was coming. He had heard it in the 3 words she had said before she hung up. A few streets over, a car had already turned off North Main Street onto Loving Avenue, moving with the kind of calm, unhurried speed that doesn't rush because it doesn't need to. The driver had made this kind of drive before. Not to this street, not for this reason. But she had driven toward situations that needed her presence, and she had always arrived the same way. Quietly, completely, with the full weight of what she carried in that courtroom resting in every step she took when she got out of that car. Bassett was still on his radio when the headlights appeared at the end of Refugio Street. The car that turned onto Refugio Street was a dark silver Volvo S90. It moved slowly, deliberately, and parked directly behind Bassett's patrol car without hesitation. Like whoever was driving had every right to be exactly where they were parking. Bassett noticed it. He stepped out of his patrol car and watched. The Volvo's engine cut off. For a moment, nothing happened. The door didn't open immediately. There was no rush, no urgency, just stillness. The kind that belongs to someone who has spent years in rooms where everyone waits for them to speak first. Then the door opened. Vivienne Omari stepped out. She was dressed in dark slacks and a pressed charcoal blazer, a leather document folio tucked under her left arm. She was in her early 50s, with a composed, angular face and eyes that didn't scan the scene the way a worried mother's eyes would. They moved across it the way a judge's eyes move across a courtroom, taking everything in, missing nothing, giving nothing away. She walked toward her son first. She looked at his face, then briefly at his leg, then at the medical equipment spread across his back seat. She didn't say anything to him yet. She just placed one hand on his arm for a moment, then turned and faced Bassett. Bassett had walked forward to meet her at the midpoint between the 2 cars. He stood with his shoulders squared, one hand resting near his belt. He looked at her the way he had looked at Terrence, like he had already made a decision. "Ma'am, this is an active traffic stop. I'm going to need you to step back to your vehicle." Vivienne looked at him. She didn't step back. "What is your name and badge number?" she asked. Her voice was even. No heat in it, no tremble. Just the flat, clean delivery of someone who asks that question and expects a direct answer. Bassett's jaw tightened slightly. "Officer Pruitt Bassett, Fort Worth PD. And I need you to step back, ma'am. This does not concern you." "This is my son," she said. "This concerns me. Your son was pulled over on suspicion of impairment. I am conducting a lawful stop and I need you to—" "On what basis?" she asked. Bassett stopped. "On what specific basis did you determine impairment?" she said again, the same tone, the same pace, like she had all the time in the world and planned to use every second of it. "Because I can see from here that his disabled placard is hanging from his mirror. I can see his medical bag on the back seat, and my son told me on the phone that he showed you his hospital documentation, his prescription labels, and explained his condition to you before he even stepped out of this vehicle. So I want to know, on what specific basis are you holding him here?" Bassett looked at her for a moment. Something had shifted in his posture, though he hadn't moved. "Ma'am, I don't know who you are, but—" "My name," she said, "is Vivienne Omari. I am the Chief Magistrate Judge for Tarrant County." The street went completely quiet. Not quiet in an empty way. Quiet in the way that happens when something has been said that cannot be unsaid. The woman with the dog stood frozen on the far pavement. The man at his front gate had his phone up now. Bassett's patrol car radio buzzed faintly in the background and nobody acknowledged it. Bassett's hand came away from his belt. His weight shifted. Barely, just a few degrees. But it was visible. The squared shoulders dropped half an inch. The practiced authority that had carried him through this entire stop began, in real time, to leave his body. Vivian did not move closer to him. She didn't need to. She stood exactly where she was and let the silence do its work. "I'm going to ask you one more time," she said. "On what grounds did you search my son's vehicle? On what grounds did you handle his medical equipment? And on what grounds are you still holding him on this street after he provided you with documentation of a diagnosed physical disability?" Bassett opened his mouth. He closed it. He tried again. "I observed behavior consistent with possible impairment, and I had reason to—" "His behavior," Vivian said, cutting through him cleanly, "is consistent with permanent nerve damage in his left leg, which he has had since 2021, which is documented by John Peter Smith Hospital, which is in that bag that you went through, and which he explained to you before you asked him to step out of this vehicle." She paused for exactly 1 second. "Your body cam has been recording this entire stop, Officer Bassett. Everything you did and everything you said is on that footage." Bassett said nothing. "I want his belongings returned to that bag exactly as they were," she said. "I want his paperwork returned to him, and I want your supervisor's name and direct contact before I leave this street." Terrence stood beside his car watching his mother dismantle a 12-year career in 4 minutes on a quiet Fort Worth side street. He hadn't said a word since she arrived. He didn't need to. She had walked onto that pavement and taken the entire weight of it without flinching, without raising her voice, without doing anything other than asking the questions that Bassett had spent this entire stop hoping nobody would ask. Bassett turned slowly toward the Accord. He began returning the prescription bottles to the duffel. His movements were smaller now, more careful. The same hands that had gone through that bag like it was contraband were now placing things back with the reluctant precision of a man who understood fully and finally that the ground had shifted completely beneath him. The man at the front gate was still recording. The woman across the street hadn't moved. And somewhere behind Vivian's Volvo, a second car had pulled up. A neighbor who had seen the lights and come outside, phone already in hand. The body cam on Bassett's chest had captured all of it. Every dismissal. Every refusal to read the documentation. Every condescending word spoken to a disabled young man on his way home from a hospital appointment. The footage existed. It was time-stamped, and it was going to outlast everything Pruitt Bassett thought he had built. He handed the duffel back to Terrence without making eye contact. Vivian watched him do it. Then she took out her phone and made her own call. The call Vivian made that night on Refugio Street lasted 6 minutes. She spoke to Deputy Chief Ronald Sayers of the Fort Worth Police Department directly. Not his office, not his assistant, not a dispatch operator. His personal line. The kind of number that doesn't get shared unless you move in rooms where accountability is taken seriously. She told him what had happened, where she was standing, and what the body cam footage would show when it was reviewed. She didn't threaten. She didn't raise her voice. She simply described the evening with the same precision she used when delivering rulings from the bench, and she told him she expected a response by morning. She got one before midnight. By 11:47 that same night, Officer Pruitt Bassett had been placed on administrative leave pending an internal affairs review. The Fort Worth PD issued a brief internal notice confirming the leave, citing a complaint filed by a Tarrant County judicial officer. No details were released publicly at that stage, but the street on Refugio hadn't been empty during that stop. 3 residents had recorded portions of the encounter on their phones. By the time Bassett was sitting at home that night, 2 of those videos had already been posted online. By the following morning, they had been viewed over 400,000 times. The footage showed everything. It showed Terrence's slow, painful exit from the vehicle. The drag of his left foot, the grip on the doorframe, the visible effort of a man whose body works harder than most people's just to stand upright. It showed Bassett watching that and still asking him to walk a straight line. It showed the medical bag being emptied onto the back seat, the prescription bottles lined up, the hospital paperwork set aside without being read, and it showed Vivian arriving, calm, direct, and methodical. And the moment Bassett's entire posture changed when she identified herself. That moment, specifically, became the clip that spread furthest. 12 seconds of footage. Bassett's hand dropping from his belt, his shoulders losing their shape. The silence on that street after Vivian said her title. People watched those 12 seconds millions of times across every platform. And what they saw in them was not just one officer caught in one bad stop. They saw something they recognized. Something they had either experienced themselves or watched happen to someone they loved. The comment sections filled within hours. The Fort Worth PD held a press conference 2 days after the stop. The department's spokesperson confirmed that an internal affairs investigation had been opened and that the matter was being taken seriously. A reporter asked directly whether the stop had been racially motivated. The spokesperson said the investigation would determine the facts. Another reporter asked whether the officer had been trained in disability awareness and proper protocol for interacting with physically disabled individuals during traffic stops. The spokesperson said that information was part of the ongoing review. Neither answer satisfied anyone. By the end of that week, the Tarrant County District Attorney's Office had received a formal complaint. The complaint cited violations under the Americans with Disabilities Act, unlawful search without probable cause, and harassment. It had been filed by Vivian Omari, not as a grieving mother, but as a legal officer of the court who had witnessed the conduct firsthand and documented it with the precision her position required. Every detail was in there. The timestamps, the location, the specific items removed from the medical bag. The field sobriety request made to a man whose documented disability made that request not just unreasonable, but deliberately humiliating. 2 weeks after the stop on Refugio Street, Pruitt Bassett was terminated from the Fort Worth Police Department. The department's official statement said his conduct had fallen below the standards expected of officers serving the community. It said the body cam footage had been reviewed in full, and that the findings of the internal affairs investigation had supported the decision to end his employment. It did not use the word discrimination. It did not use the word harassment. But the civil lawsuit filed by the Omari family's attorney the following Monday used both of those words, clearly and repeatedly, across 41 pages of legal documentation. The lawsuit named Bassett personally and the Fort Worth PD institutionally. It argued that the stop had been initiated without legitimate cause, that the search had been conducted without consent or probable cause, that Bassett had deliberately disregarded documented evidence of a disability, and that the field sobriety request had been a targeted act of humiliation against a person whose condition was visible, explained, and documented. It sought damages for emotional distress, violation of civil rights, and discrimination on the basis of disability and race. Terrence gave one public statement. He sat in front of a camera at a local Fort Worth news outlet 11 days after the stop, and he spoke for just under 3 minutes. He didn't talk about anger. He talked about the drive home, how routine it was, how many times he had made it, how he had done everything right and it still hadn't been enough. He said he hoped the footage made people understand that this wasn't about one bad night. It was about what happens when the people who are supposed to protect a community decide in a single glance that some members of that community don't deserve the same patience, the same benefit of the doubt, or the same basic respect. Vivian said nothing publicly. She didn't need to. She had already said everything that mattered on a quiet street in North Fort Worth, standing between a patrol car and her son's Honda, in a blazer and dark slacks, with nothing but her voice and the facts. Pruitt Bassett had spent 12 years building a career on the assumption that the people he stopped didn't have the power to stop him back. He picked the wrong car on the wrong street on the wrong evening, and the camera caught every second of it. If this story moved you, hit the like button and share it with someone who needs to see it. Justice doesn't go viral on its own. You make that happen. This is Body Cam Revealed. We find the footage, we tell the story, and we make sure it doesn't get buried. Subscribe so you never miss what we uncover next.